Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Box Office Talk. This is the show where I break down what happened at the box office, see if my predictions for the top 5 are correct, and then make predictions for next week's top 5. So let's get right on into it. Last week I predicted that number 1 would be Ralph Breaks the Internet, then number 2 would be Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald, number 3 would be Creed 2, number 4 would be The Grinch, and number 5 would be Robin Hood. And except for the number 1 spot, I got all 4 of those other predictions wrong. Jesus Christ, this was not my week for predictions. So number 1, yes, was Ralph Breaks the Internet, making $55 million on the 3-day weekend, but since these movies came out on Wednesday, it adds to a domestic total of $84 million. Now, for the weekend, this is actually $6 million over its $49 million gross of the first movie, which is very good, and worldwide it is already sitting at $125 million, which is a fantastic start before it has to get to the doubling point of its $175 million budget. The fact that it's already grossed this much is a pretty good sign that it'll do pretty well. Also, when you look at how much money the first movie made and how more people showed up to see this Ralph movie than the first one, I think it definitely will make more than the first one and get its money back. Number 2, we have Creed 2, which also made $6 million more on its opening weekend than the first movie, making $35 million on the 3-day weekend, adding to a domestic total of $55 million. And even though it doesn't have a worldwide total yet, its budget is only $50 million, only $15 million more than the first movie's budget, so it'll obviously get to $100 million domestically and worldwide. Whenever those numbers come out, that'll just add more success to this film that's inevitably going to be successful. So the top 2 openers this weekend are doing very well financially already. Moving on to number 3 is The Grinch, which has been out for a while but is already still financially successful, making $30 million domestically, adding to a domestic total of $180 million, and on the worldwide chart it is sitting at $215 million. Now, I checked the worldwide release dates for this movie, and it's only going to be released in a bunch of other places later on in December, so it's going to be a while until the worldwide numbers start to really boost, but right now it's only $130 million away worldwide from outgrossing the Lorax, and domestically it's only $30 million away from doing that. So already the Grinch is still making a ton of money, even if it hasn't been released in those other places yet, which is just fantastic for Illumination, but of course they make these movies relatively cheap, so it's not a huge surprise. Moving on to number 4, we have Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald, making $29 million, adding to a domestic total of $117 million. This is a pretty big drop from its $60-ish million opening last weekend, so not that good for this film, but worldwide it is already sitting at $439 million. It's doubled its $200 million budget, and even though so far it still has a long way to go until it outgrosses any other Wizarding World movie, it's still doing pretty well for itself financially, so I don't think the studio needs to be scared or anything like that. I think they're still doing financially pretty well, just comparatively to the other ones, not as much. Number 5, we have Bohemian Rhapsody, making $13 million, adding to a domestic total of $152 million, and on the worldwide chart it is sitting at $472 million, so $28 million away from getting to $500 million worldwide, which is pretty great. If you're a fan of this movie, I am not, but whatever. I'm glad that the people that got to work on it have a success under their belt. I don't really have that much more to add to this film other than it's just a real big success that everyone's going out to see. And then number 6, we have Instant Family, which is one of the few movies that not too many people are really going out to see. We have quite a few bombs coming up in the next 3 movies, that is. It made only $12 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $35 million, and they don't have a worldwide total yet, but they might need one real soon because the budget is only $48 million and it needs $96 million to be considered a success. So, flop number 1 in this top 10 video. That really sucks for this movie. I've heard actually a few surprisingly good things about it from Rotten Tomatoes, so a little surprised that not too many people are going out to see this, but at the same time, not really, because you have Ralph and Creed and The Grinch and all that. Number 7, however, is a pretty big flop since I thought it would make it to the top 5, Robin Hood. It only made $9 million this weekend, and that adds to a domestic total of $14 million, and on the worldwide chart, it is only sitting at $22 million. And for a movie that cost around $90 to $100 million, this is not a good opener for this, and this movie's going to be forgotten about in the next week, probably. I don't think it'll leave the top 10 yet, but in the next coming weeks, it definitely will be pushed down, like, extremely so, and no one's going to really remember that this film came out, probably. Moving on to number 8, which is a film I saw and loved, but no one's going to see for some reason, Widows. It made $7 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $25 million, and on the worldwide chart, it is sitting at $38 million. So it's $4 million away from crossing its initial production production budget of $42 million, but like I said, once you double that, it needs to get to $84 million, and it's just not doing that. I'm really bummed that this movie is roped in with Instant Family and Robin Hood as flops this weekend, because this movie was quite something. I'll have a review coming soon, but I really loved it, and I wish more people would go out and see it and support it. Moving on to number 9, we have Green Book making $5 million, adding to a domestic total of $7 million. This is more limited release right now. It's only been expanded to a couple other places. I'm thinking this might get an Oscar push at some point, so maybe more people will see it then. But right now it does still need to get to $46 million to double its $23 million budget, but it's not bad right now, since, as I said, it's a little bit more limited right now, and not too many are going out to see it because of that. I think once it gets a little bit more awards recognition, it might be able to make that budget back. And finally, closing out the video, the last time this movie's going to be here, A Star is Born, making $3 million, adding to a domestic total of $191 million, $9 million away from getting to $200 million domestically. It's not going to do that, but it had one hell of a run. Worldwide, it is sitting at $353 million. I couldn't be prouder of this film's success, as you probably already know. Now it's time for the fun part, the predictions for next week's top 5. Number 1, I'm going with Ralph Breaks the Internet again. Number 2, Creed 2 again. Number 3, The Grinch again. Number 4, Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald again. And then number 5, I think, will be The Possession of Hannah Grace. I'm taking a risk with this one because it's only being released in about 1,000, 2,000 theaters, something like that. So, and not too many people probably know what this movie is. So I'm putting it in there because it's a new release, and maybe it'll get in there. I'm not sure. But what are your predictions for next week's top 5? Leave it in the comments below. And if you got your predictions right for this week, you're going to get a shout out right now. Unless you didn't get it right, then I'm sorry. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.